I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume. So I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. So we're continuing now in the Gospels. Our last few videos we've been reading the Sermon on the Mount as recorded in Matthew, starting with Matthew chapter 5, which is where we're at now. Now, we did read this sermon in Luke as well, but Luke is a much more condensed version. This takes place someplace in Galilee. Christ was in Jerusalem, but they are again seeking his life there, so he has returned to Galilee. And he is teaching the disciples. He's not just the 12, he's teaching all his disciples. This is a multitude who have come specifically to hear Christ. And they've come out into the wilderness, they've gone up into the mountains, because he's up in the mountains. So these are the people who are honestly seeking him. These are not the Pharisees who are coming out to fight with him. We see he contends with the Pharisees, but always in the town. He doesn't contend with them out in the wilderness. Out in the wilderness, he's talking to his disciples. Now, our last video, we read the last 16 verses of Matthew chapter 5. That would be verses 33 through 48. We are now going to look at the Joseph Smith translation for these verses. And unlike the previous two sections of this chapter, not all of these verses have corrections to them. So I'm not going to read through the Joseph Smith translation from beginning to end like I did in the previous two videos. I am going to read one verse at a time and look at the differences. So we have first, in verse 33, the King James, that first sentence. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time. Joseph Smith just simplifies it. Again, it hath been written by them of old time. It's a nice little alteration there. In verse 38, see now 34, 5, 6, and 7, those verses have no alterations to them. Verse 38 very simply changes that first word, ye have heard, it's now you have heard. But now we get some interesting changes here. Verse 40. It reads, And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. Even in my last video I talked about that was, if you get sued for $100, give him $150. That kind of stuff. But this makes it a little different. We have in the Joseph Smith translation here, And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have it. And if he sue thee again, let him have thy cloak. So it's no more just give him extra. It's don't worry about it. If they get sued, pay the suit. Don't fight it. And if they sue you again, it's okay. Pay the suit again. Don't fight it. And we get a similar thing here in verse 41, where it said, And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. And remember I mentioned that it was claimed that there was the Roman law that they could compel you to go a mile, but no more than a mile. But I like this Joseph Smith translation, because that never made sense to me. I don't really believe it. And here we have with the Joseph Smith translation, And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him a mile. And whosoever shall compel thee to go with him twain, thou shalt go with him twain. So it's not that, they can only compel you to go a mile under the law, but give them a little extra. No, it's if they compel you, if they have the law, they compel you to go whatever distance they're compelling you to go. Don't fight it, don't complain, just do what is required. Now in verse 45, we change what to who, so nothing important there. Verse 46, we have this, For if ye love them who love you, what reward have ye? That's the King James. In the Joseph Smith translation, For if ye love only them which love you, what reward have you? And in verse 47, we again have minor changes here. What do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so is corrected. What do you more than others? Do not even the publicans the same. And then finally in verse 48, the King James says, Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And we have the correction here. Ye are therefore commanded to be perfect, even as your Father who is in heaven is perfect. Now that is a very significant alteration, a very significant correction here, because now this is not just a nice suggestion. Not only does it have the force of a commandment behind it now, rather than just a nice suggestion, but what this is literally saying is that if we are to follow the commandments of God, we will be exalted, because he is commanding us here to be exalted. Because he is commanding us to be perfect, and the only way we can be perfect is if we are exalted. And so the commandment, God is saying, I am commanding you to be exalted. Anyone who is not able to be exalted, anybody who misses out on exaltation, has failed to obey the commandments of God. That is a wonderful correction. I leave that here, and we will be turning to Matthew chapter 6 next. So I will see you there.